approach relationships which have ended as a result of toxicity or underlying issues which have gone on for far too long. Welcome to another episode of the Keeping It Real podcast. And in today's episode, I'm going to answer that question with examples from my personal experience. And I hope that some of you all can find this episode a little bit relatable. You know, sometimes in my personal life, when I have ended up losing a friend, I still had to interact with them in some capacity because they were in a group chat, they were in a club, they were in, you know, a event that we had to partake in. So sometimes, even though we may end these relationships, we may not be able to 100% stay away from them as you may want to. But how do you handle those things when you do encounter this person? Well, for one, you can set clear boundaries with this person. And even know that you all may not have a relationship anymore, you're still a human being. And as a human being, you are fully capable of setting boundaries for yourself to ensure that you and this person are in a healthy environment. But you should be looking out for yourself with these boundaries. But the reason why I include the other person is because you don't want to lose your cool and just basically do all the extra that is so unnecessary and then cause a scene. I'm not speaking from experience, by the way, but anyways, you don't want to cause a scene. And yeah, so it's good to set boundaries so that way you guys are on the same page. So a boundary could just be at least agree to be respectful when we see each other in public or at these events or over text. It's a small boundary like that because sometimes when you're out of a friendship, the other party feels as if they don't owe you the respect that you deserve anymore because you guys no longer have anything that you're upholding. You know, I just ended a friendship not too long ago, and I described this in an earlier episode. And whenever I end a friendship, I change my communication styles because if I don't, if you're not my friend anymore, I just feel as if I shouldn't be putting in the effort that I put into my other friends. I shouldn't be putting that into you anymore. And the friend that I ended a friendship with, sometimes he would text me privately trying to start his nonsense, and I made it quite clear that I don't tolerate it anymore. And see, one thing I'm not going to be is someone's punching bag. You can have a bad day, but what you're not going to do is come and take it out on me. That's not going to happen. So I made that quite clear. And so that's what you have to do is you have to set these clear boundaries because if you don't, no one's going to respect you. People are going to think that they can walk all over you because you have let them. Don't allow them to have the satisfaction of seeing you down or seeing you upset. You be the bigger person and you show them that you are fully capable of setting your own boundaries. You know your self-worth and you know what you deserve. And once you establish those things, you will be able to start to be able to learn how to move forward. And that's another way that you can and handle these encounters with this person is by trying to move on. Because sometimes it can be really hard when you're seeing this person because you just remember all the memories that you created together, if you did while you guys were friends. And so sometimes it can be hard to let those memories go. And I'm not saying that they should just go, with a snap of a finger. That takes time. But that doesn't mean that you don't try to work on moving on. And you can do that by trying to find yourself. And what that means is you find what it is that you enjoy. What hobbies do you have? Who do you prefer to hang out with? What do you like? What don't you like? Pick up a cookbook, go hiking. I mean, I remember years ago, it would be an every weekend thing for me going hiking. And then I discovered that that was my peaceful thing. My peaceful space is going out on walks. Of course, I'm going with someone because, you know, you don't want to go hiking on these long trails with no one there with you because anything could happen. But that was my peace, was being able to go hiking. And yours may be going to go swimming, yours may be going to go cook or something like that. Everyone has their thing, but find that and try to embrace that a little bit more. Take your mind off of the toxicity and shift that onto something, that'll help you be positive. That's what'll be good for you. And in the process of finding yourself, maybe you'll be able to find a group of friends that, enjoy the same activities you do. And then, shoot, as you grow, whenever you see this person out in public, you're not going to even be bothered. But if it's like fresh, like if you're just now getting out of the relationship, it's kind of like a fresh scar. As soon as you cut yourself and you have a scar, it's going to hurt for a few days, and then it's going to become a scab and it heals. So this isn't just going to be something that can just change overnight. Moving on takes time. Letting go takes time. But I live by this motto: you got to let go to grow. Because if you hold things from your past which are now irrelevant to your present, how are you going to be able to move forward to your future? Think about that. Don't hold on to things that are not helping you grow. And how you can do that is trying to work towards your future. Stop focusing so much on what you could have done better, because what you need to realize is that you live and you learn. As you grow, you go through so many different experiences, and through those experiences you you grow as a person and you become more wise, and that's good for you. So that way you'll be in a position to where you will probably be able to help someone who is going down. That's why a lot of people come to me for advice, because no, I'm not a therapist, but I have been through a lot both as an adult and a teenager, where I know how to handle these issues in a healthy way, and sometimes not so healthy way, but we won't talk about that today. And I'm completely joking, or am I? No, I'm joking. I'm joking because these situations, these, oh my goodness, I cannot speak. These situations can be fixed, but they should be fixed in a healthy manner. I've said in an earlier podcast that some battles need to be fought on your knees. And that means you go to God in prayer. What does He want you to do? How does He want you to move forward? And I think sometimes we as a society, we depend on our own worldly judgment. And our worldly judgment will get us hurt. Trust me. You listen to your heart over the Lord, you will get hurt. There's been many times that I have misjudged a situation because I wasn't ready to let go. And then I ended up getting the wrong end of the stick. And I said earlier that I have been dealing with this personally, and I have. And I don't get hurt often. I don't. In this situation, it did not hurt me. However, it more so shocked me because there were some things that were discussed in our conversation that I did not even know that I was doing. And in relationships, communication is key. When someone tells you Well, you know what? I don't see you as a friend because you do this, you do that, you don't do this, you don't do that. You know what? Don't get bothered by it. If you beat yourself up about it, then you're going to be trying to change yourself to try to be their friend. No, I highly doubt they are even that worth it. I highly doubt it. You know, move on and find someone that is going to accept you for you, because you know, that's what I'm in the process of doing. You know, the Lord closes one door and he opens up double doors. I firmly believe that. And as I'm going through this personally right now, I am just I'm going back to the days before I started college. What was it that I liked to do? Because sometimes you get in these relationships or friendships, I should say, in college, even though friendships, relationships, same difference. You get in these relationships in college, and then sometimes you feel as if they're gonna last forever. But one thing that I've become good at, you know, is assessing who's being truthful and who's not. I can sense phony a mile away. Now, I will be honest. This situation that I've been dealing with, I did not sense it a mile away. And your judgment's not going to always be 100% correct. There's going to be things that God sees that you don't see. But in time, He will reveal it to you. So it's really important to stay in your word, because Jesus can speak to us in so many ways. You know, I've been told that, Jesus can speak to you in dreams. I know for sure He speaks to you through His word. So sometimes it's just good to have that meditation, that alone time with God. Talk to Him about what it is that you're going through, and just sit there and listen. When you're reading your word, like, if for instance, if He's led you to a certain passage, read it, but don't just read it. Take it in, study it, reread it, write it down, analyze it, understand what it means, you know, because there could be something in that passage that is just beneficial for what you're going through right now. And by rushing through it, you're not getting what it is that the Lord is wanting you to get from it. So, you know, as I'm going through this now, I am getting back into my word again. And I've done so much reading in college that honestly, I was slacking off a little bit reading the word. But I had this prayer journal that our church gives out every year. And it basically has a guide for reading the entire Bible, and the entire Bible in a year, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to get back into that. So it's really good to just try to distract yourself from the toxicity. So find your thing that distracts you from the toxicity, and find something that will allow you to have peace. If we could just sit here and mope around about how so and so treated us, how so and so did us, oh, so and so just did me so wrong. How dare he, or how dare she? You know, if we just sit around and mope, we're going to have such depressing lives, and and as adults, we got bills to pay. We can't afford to just be sitting around moping as much as we'd want to. Just sit around, don't get up, don't go to work, don't pay the bills. You know what? The electric company, all they're going to do is just shut those lights off. And then the water company is just going to shut the water off. And you don't want that, because then talk about no water. That really going to be a smelly house. But anyway, I'm just kidding. But seriously, don't sit around and just dwell on how someone treated you. How can you move forward from that? And that's where finding yourself is important. So I highly suggest, if this is something that you're going through now, and you just feel so down, it's okay to feel down. I'm not saying that you're not going to feel down. That's okay. But when you are ready, try to find a hobby. Try to find something that is going to help you move forward. What's going to cause you to not think about this? Because, the title of this episode is The Aftermath. And usually after a relationship ends, the aftermath of it can be so awkward because you're like, I don't know what to do. Do I still check on this person? Do I still do this? Do I still do that? It's really up to your discretion. Some people, when they end a friendship, they block them and don't want to have anything to do with them, or they delete their contact info. I personally, I'll leave you on my socials, but don't expect me whenever I come into town to come see you. Don't expect me to be talking to you privately. Everyone handles it differently. It really depends on what you can tolerate and what you can't tolerate. But if you don't take anything else from this episode, remember this. Sometimes you got to let go to grow. And don't hold past things that are irrelevant to your present that will prevent you from moving on to your future. I hope you all have learned something from this episode today. And if you would like to discuss what you're personally going through, I'd be happy to hear about your personal experiences and we can have a conversation. I will link my Instagram down below in the description box. And if you have any comments, please comment down below and please leave a thumbs up on the video and subscribe. I appreciate you all for listening today and have a good one. Take care.